Florida State coach Mike Norvell is out here telling the truth. Ryan, he said,
Georgia has been the standard in college football the last 3 years. I think it's the truth we've been telling you as well.
Yeah, I don't know how it's something other than that. This year is one of the 3 years. Hey, listen, we're on site here at the Orange Bowl, so what can we do? It's true. Georgia's lost 2 games in that time and they've won as many national championships as they've lost games.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to say that out loud. It reminds me of when I was a kid and watching Alabama do that 10 years ago, and like A.J. McCarron's stat lines where he at one point had more national championship wins than losses. And I just remember as a little kid thinking how special that was and how I can't believe that is something that a team can accomplish. And now you're seeing it being accomplished somewhere else. I think it was interesting to hear Kirby talk this morning about his roots a little bit, about what he learned at Valdosta State, about how that's helped him recruiting in South Georgia, and all the relationships he's made over the course of his career has a lot to do with the success now, I think. So that was interesting to me today.
My favorite part was that he talked about the bus rides. And I know a lot about them small college bus rides. They're not a lot of fun, particularly when you lose. But it does, he's doing something that's different than he did then. It's more visible. It's more, it's more important. But at the same time, it's still the same sport. And he's had to adjust and adapt the same way we have over time. And here we are. I mean, they will be the betting favorite to win the national championship in 24, unless Alabama maybe could clip them there. I don't know. But there's a lot coming back for Georgia, notably with Carson Beck. And again, I say this to you all the time, we don't know where we are in the arc of history here. We could be, they didn't win 3 in a row, but they win 5 out of 7. I don't know.
Something crazy like that. We don't. I mean, this could be the end of it being really, really, really good.
Yeah,
I doubt that.
Yeah. Well, we just watched Clemson celebrate a Gator Bowl win. So.
And you missed Dabo's post game, and you missed I was just in there watching that and talking to some FSU people actually.
Go ahead.
But man, dude, I just can't get over his reaction to that field goal.
No,
he got down on his knees.
He loved it. But the contrast there is that a few years ago they would have never been caught dead playing in.
That's your point. Is we don't know if that could be Georgia in a few years.
Doesn't seem like it because of the way that Georgia's been so aggressive about everything with their program.
Yeah, I think this week has mattered a lot more in terms of a pulse on what Georgia really is.
Okay, why? Go ahead.
Dude, all these players opting in, the culture thing.
They're into it.
You saw the difference. The press conference we attended this morning was a joint one between Mike Norvell and Kirby Smart. So you get a pulse on where they're both at. And it was just interesting to hear the difference and Kirby talking about the culture, the standard. This week has proven what this video is about, in that they are the standard of college football. And look, that's no different than what happened with Alabama in the Cotton Bowl last year when
in
Bryce
the Sugar Bowl.
I
agree. I agree with that.
Yeah, when Bryce Young and Will Anderson, and they were both going to end up, and they did end up being top 3 picks, both of them.
There was much to learn. I feel like when we were watching that. So did we watch that in the hotel before?
We watched that in the
hotel, and then we went
to playing Kansas State,
and then we went to the game. Right, and then we kind of Michigan and them were playing, and that we were monitoring that.
It was the night before.
No,
it was the Sugar.
No, the Sugar was that day, and then.
It was weird. It was a weird day, Sugar Bowl.
And then we went to the Dome, but
it was the same day.
The Orange was the night before with Tennessee beating Clemson, kind of rolling Clemson a little bit. But I go ahead.
I think Georgia is the standard of college football right now. This one game and one decision by a group of people in that 24-hour period of time doesn't change that. It doesn't change that. It being Alabama, maybe does that make you scratch your head a little bit about that? Is Alabama still the standard?
Well,
hard to say with what happened the last 3 years.
Well, I'll tell you right now, though, if Georgia's not, then it is Alabama. I mean, like,
and they have been.
Yeah,
then just nothing changed.
I'll tell you what's not standard are these chairs. I'm gonna just point this out.
Oh, this is great. This is great.
This is not what you want.
That is.
Yeah, you're. I'm just gonna tell you right now. You'd much rather have Eco Poly.
I'm
because
not,
this is not
comfortable right
no,
now.
not at all. This is not fake. This is not fake at all. At least
I'm leaning forward.
And we talk about Eco Poly at the pool. Yeah, this is not great. But anyway, shameless plug. You can pick those up down below. Check them out. 20-year warranty. Completely recycled plastics. This is completely hurting me right now, but we're making it work because we're on location at a pool, which we said is a place you can get an Eco Poly. But I think that they're going to go into next year with, I don't know about pressure. I don't know. You know,
yes.
There's always pressure.
There's always pressure,
at Georgia.
and then when you get the rings, the pressure is ticked up. The pressure is ticked up.
Yeah.
Because it's championship or bust to an extent, right? Like, this is not what Georgia is going to be able to do this week, and I think they're going to win the Orange Bowl. That's not failure, and that's not something to be down about. You're doing something significant for the program. It's just not as significant as what's been happening. But it's not a failure, but I do think that pressure is only going to grow.
So I think we were talking about small colleges earlier and talking about how Kirby used his experience there when no one was watching to develop this machine and this monster. What can they learn when they play in the Orange Bowl? What you know, that every time you go out there and play, there's stuff that you can gain from that. There's experience, there's, you know, muscle memory, you know, there's all sorts of stuff. You know, I was watching, when you watch the Gator Bowl, you go back, the biggest game they play every year is at that facility. And, you know, when we turn around, we don't know what Florida's going to be like this year. We don't know what Auburn's going to be like, or Clemson, or, you know, Ole Miss over there, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. I mean, Alabama, Texas. This is a significant schedule next year, and this is just the launching point for it. And let's just say Georgia gets shocked against the Noles. That does not change what will be a juggernaut in 24 to me.
Yeah.
But I would be shocked, personally. I think a lot of people would be shocked.
No, I would be too. I think when you say learning experience too, not just for the player, for the coaches.
Everybody.
This is another experience that Kirby and the staff, they say, oh, okay, well, this could happen in this bowl game situation. Maybe we need to handle it this way. Because are you about to reference what I think you're about to reference with the Sugar Bowl a few years ago?
Well, no, but
that was a learning experience for Kirby more than anyone else.
I think so.
This can be that for whoever it is. It could be that for Mike Bobo. It could be that for a position
Brett
coach.
Thorson.
Yeah.
It could be that for, you know, Oscar Delp or whoever.
Or Gunnar Stockton, like we've talked about, who we expect to get on the field on Saturday at some point. And honestly, I mean, I think Kirby Smart kind of confirmed this morning that they want to involve a lot of younger players in this game.
Well, they did in the Sugar Bowl, the back-to-back Sugars. They really did. I mean, Zamir White's launching point for the 2020 season was the way he played in the 2019 Sugar. I mean, I'd seen Zamir. He was the most gifted. It was the most impressive high school game I've ever seen was Zamir White against Jordan Davis and Mallory Creek. It was amazing. But he had injuries, and then finally against Baylor, he just took off. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's part of what we saw. And then from that point forward, Zamir kept moving forward to the guy he is today,
who was
having
a good last couple of weeks in the NFL.
People in the NFL lately. But I don't think at all. I mean, I think Florida State can't lose. They're in a can't-lose situation. Either they win, or they get beat, or they lose by a lot. There will be a built-in excuse for Florida State no matter what. There's not one for Georgia. So there really is nothing to do other than win, which I think is their full expectation anyway.
Expectation. That's not just that's what they're planning to do. They're planning to execute that. They want to finish it right. That's what it is. They want to end it
Quote,
with a
go out on
win.
top.
Yeah.
And there's only, you know, there are only there's 4 New Year's Sixes that are not in the semifinal. Those 4 teams that win those games, those are big games. I mean, now the Liberty-Oregon game is not a great matchup, but Penn State Ole Miss and Mizzou, Ohio State, those are legitimate games. This one was on paper, and now it's not. But when the story is told of the 2003 Sugar Bowl, people aren't talking about Anquan Bolden being the quarterback or whoever it was for Florida State. Georgia just won the game. So they were way knocked down in terms of what they had, Florida State. And it's been a long 20 years that a great little, like, 13, 14, 15, and to some degree 16, those were really good little run. One of them was a national championship for Florida State. Outside of those 4 years, that's been a long century for Florida State. It's been rough out there. Going away from Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden was a bigger deal at Florida State than Vince Dooley was at Georgia. There was no Florida State before Bobby Bowden. There just wasn't. And they had to get him out the door, and then you bring Jimbo in, which ended in total failure. But you got a national championship out of it. And, you know, from 10 until this year, they had that blip of great run. Man, these guys they had losing seasons, 3 in a row, I think it was. And I was talking to you about the Gators earlier. I mean, like, no one down here has gotten it together at all. And Florida State feels like the one program that maybe could, because Miami still looks like total hot garbage right now. Florida too.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Norvell has got, we always say in the right direction, because that's an easy way to put it. But this is the right direction.
It is.
Getting into these types of games, going 13-0, winning your conference.
It's like they're on the pavement, you know?
Yeah, it's good. They're doing well on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, they're fighting it.
They're fighting it. They're starting to get better there. So like you said, down in Florida, they're in the best situation
of the Florida schools.
Of the big Florida schools, they're in the best situation.
Of which there are only 3. I'm sorry that UCF feels like they're one of them, but they're not. And although they're in the Big 12.
Are we going to call it the Power 4 now?
I believe we are. And I mean, it may be ridiculous not to include them, but the way that UCF has acted for years is ridiculous. So I feel like they kind of have earned that a little bit with their 2017 national championship.
Someone asked in the thing today, do you remember that question? Will you guys consider yourselves national champions?
I think they have an argument, but at least Mike Norvell said we were not invited to play in that tournament.
He was very mature about that.
Yeah,
answer.
He was.
Yeah.
And you can still tell they're pissed, which I don't think anyone has any. Everyone understands how pissed they are and why they are, but after a while, you know, I just don't know. I mean, you got to go play the games, and whatever happens. I think the best thing Norvell said today, if I'm remembering it correctly, is, you know, sometimes you earn something and you don't get it. That's exactly what happened to Florida State this year, and frankly, that's what happened to Georgia too. But they weren't undefeated, so people don't have any sympathy for them. But I mean, you know, you're talking about a team that won the national championship 2 years in a row, and they lost a game by 3 points, and they were not included in the playoff. I don't know. I think I've regurgitated that a bunch of times, but I do think that Florida State's in real trouble on Saturday. That's my guess, but I think for 24, looking forward, because all anyone's going to care about as soon as this whistle is blown and halfway through the game is what's it going to look like next season. And Kirby and them will get a lot of they will not have – this will be the most unique offseason for them lately because it wasn't COVID. They didn't win the national championship and have to plan parades and all these things the last 2 years. And
the distractions of last year's offseason.
Well, they had a teammate who died.
Yep.
And a staffer who's been around the program for a long time that died. There was a lot that Georgia went through this season that was life or death. And that's far more important than anything Florida State dealt with. And that hung around Georgia at least until media days. I can't remember when that was, July?
I think that, Kirby did his best job at media days to say, that's all
in the past.
We're going
I was
this way.
saying in another video that I would like Kirby as a human for him to get some rest.
Yeah.
Because I'm concerned. I mean, I'm not, I just think he needs some time. These guys work a lot, and I think it's time for him to get some time. But we'll see. We don't get any. We'll be after post game. Are you going to be there watching riding home? Probably be from this pool.